Hello and welcome back to the channel. On today's tutorial, I'm going to be sharing with you how to cut a mermaid skirt with a cut together tail. So if you find this tutorial interesting and if this is what you like, please don't forget to hit on the subscribe button. So let's dive right into today's video. So here is my pattern paper we are going to use to draft out this pattern. So you want to get your full length of your dress, which is you're either starting from your half length. If you're starting from your half length, which is your shoulder to bust plus 3 inches or 2 inches, to mark your waistline, you're going to place your tape and you're going to measure 9 inches for a shorter person and 10 inches to get your hip point. But if you're drafting your skirt pattern and you want your skirt to start from your waist, all you're going to do is place your tape and you're going to mark 7 inches. So now we are drafting out this skirt as if we are using it for a normal skirt pattern. So we are going to place and mark 7 inches. So this skirt pattern can serve for an inbuilt corset, an ordinary corset, a bustier with a basque waistline also. So after I'm done marking this, I'm going to go ahead to place my ruler and I'm going to connect those points. So after I'm done connecting those points, this is my hip point, and next we'll be moving up to the waist part, which is the upper part of this pattern. So this is what I have now. Let's talk about how to fold your fabric when you're actually cutting out an A-line skirt. So there are two ways to do this. Is either you use 18 inches on fold, which is 36 inches. That is 18 inches, and then you'll be adding your sewing allowance. Or you're going to mark your hip circumference divided by 4, and whatever you have, you're going to add 8 or 10 inches to it. So now I'm using 18 inches. But if I'm using my hip circumference, that will be, my hip circumference is 40 divided by 4. I have 10 inches plus 8, which also gives me that same 18 inches. So anyone that gives you more flay at the lower part, go ahead to use that. So now starting from this point, I'm going to go ahead to mark my waist circumference divided by 4. My waist circumference divided by 4 is 7 inches. So now for this pattern, I'm just going to add half inch to it, which I'll be adding that later. So for my pattern, we will not be making use of a dart, because if you're saying for a bustier or corset, most times I don't use a dart, but I'll still go ahead and mark a dart later. Now I'll mark my hip circumference divided by 4. Now I'll be adding half inch for sewing allowance. So this half inch is not a constant. Now I'll also add the sewing allowance to the hip point. So after I'm done doing this, I'm going to go ahead to place my ruler this way, and I'm going to connect from the waist down to the hip point of my skirt pattern. So this is what I have after I'm done connecting, as easy as that. So now the next step is to get your waist to knee length. So you're going to place your tape at your waist and you're going to find your knee length. Now placing my tape on my waistline, my knee length is actually 21 inches. Another way of measuring this is to place your tape at the shoulder and get your full length, if that is also okay for you. But placing your waist to get your knee point is actually the easiest way. So I have 21 inches and I'm going to go ahead to mark that 21 inches all the way down to my pattern. And after I'm done doing that, I'm going to go ahead to place my ruler and I'm going to connect, drawing a straight line at that point. And I'm going to go ahead to label that point as the knee point so that you won't get confused what that line is for. So after I'm done marking that, the next step you want to take is to go ahead to place your tape on that point and you're going to mark 2 inches upwards. So why am I marking these 2 inches? This is to make sure that my skirt relaxes at that point, and it will give my skirt ease, because if my flare starts on the knee, it will be very difficult for the person to actually walk while wearing this dress. So I'm going to go ahead to extend that line at this point. So after I'm done extending it, I'm going to go ahead and minus 2 inches from what I have at my hip point. So let's say you marked your hip circumference divided by 4 and you added your sewing allowance. So whatever you have on that point, you're going to take out 2 inches from there. This is to give your skirt shape at the lower part. So now I'm going to go ahead to mark that. Remember, my hip circumference is 40 divided by 4. I have 10 inches and I added half inch for sewing allowance. That is 10.5. Now whatever I have, I'm going to take out 2 inches from it and I'm going to mark at that point. So at this point, I'm going to go ahead and place my tape and I will go up by half inch and I'll also come down by half inch. So why am I doing this? We are going to draw our A line starting from that point. So you want to make sure that your curve is well relaxed, your skirt is well relaxed, and you don't have any curvy effect at that point. So from here, I'm just going to go ahead to connect my skirt. So before connecting, I'm going to go ahead and place my tape and I'm going to come down by half inch at this point. So from there, I'm going to connect my skirt, measure back what I have on the hip point. So the reason why I'm doing this is to make sure that I don't have a pointy edge at my hip, so that there won't be too pointy. So now this is the reason why I did this, and from that point I'm going to connect it down to the lower part of the skirt. So after that, I'll go ahead and I will connect my skirt pattern this way from the lower part down to the upper part. So after I'm done connecting, this is what I have. So now moving down to the lower part, for my skirt full length, I'm making use of the whole skirt pattern. I actually added another pattern paper to this, so I have 36 inches on for the length. So now I'm going to go ahead to curve this point. So this is the reason why we came up by half inch and came down by half inch, so that's what we have here is going to blend very well when we are actually drawing out the A-line part of our skirt. So now I'm just going to go ahead to place my ruler at this point and I'm going to go ahead to draw out a straight line. So this is what I have after I'm done drafting out this skirt pattern. As simple as that. So I'll go ahead and I'll use my marker to mark all the patterns out. So after I'm done doing this, we're going to go ahead to contour the lower part. So I'll go up by 1 inch and I'm going to blend it down to my skirt at the lower part. As easy as that. So after doing that, we're going to move right up. So at this point, if you want to go ahead and mark your dart, you're going to mark your nipple to nipple divided by 2. My nipple to nipple is 7 inches divided by 2. I have 3.5 and I'll measure about 6 inches. So your dart is about 3 to 6 inches and I'll be marking half inch on both sides. So after I'm done marking that, I'm just going to go ahead to connect it this way. So if you mark your dart on your pattern, whatever you marked out, you're going to go ahead to replace it. So at this part, I'll come down by 0.25 inches. This is just to contour the waistline of this skirt. And I'll blend it down to the waistline. So after this, I'm done drafting out the skirt pattern and I'm just going to go ahead to cut it all out. So at this point, if you find this tutorial very interesting and educative, please don't forget to hit on the subscribe button, give this video a thumbs up, and also leave your comments at the comment section. So after I'm done cutting out, this is what I have for my skirt pattern, and we are also going to go ahead to cut out the contour that we have in front of the skirt. So after cutting it out, this is what our skirt finally looks like. So now we'll be moving over to the back pattern. So for the back pattern, if you're wondering what this line is, this is the same measurement we have for the front pattern. So I went ahead to mark that line and I'm going to go ahead to pin my front pattern on it. So after I'm done pinning it, we are going to go ahead to start imputing our measurement. So at the lower part, you notice that we have about 10 or more inches at the lower part. This is to draw out the tail of the dress. So now in front also, at the center of your skirt, you're going to also have a tail. That is the cut together tail. So that's why we have few inches in front. So from the sides, I'm just going to trace out what we have at this point, and I'm going to go ahead to use my French curve and also my freehand sketch to draw out the tail of the skirt. As simple as that. So for this tail, 10 inches is not a standard. You can use 10 inches or more. Looking at what we have on the thumbnail, you can even use up to 10, 20, 30 inches. It just depends on how long you want your tail to be. So after I'm done drawing that out, I'm just going to go ahead to trace it out this way. Now, after I'm done tracing it out, I'm just going to blend it in and we'll start working for the front pattern. To work for the front pattern, all I'm going to do is to go ahead and add my zipper allowance in front. So for my zipper allowance, you can use 1 or 2 inches at this side. And I'm going to stop at that my knee length that I went up by 2 inches. And after that, I'm just going to go ahead to rule a line out at that point. After that, my tail at the center is going to start from that line, and I'm going to label this as my zipper. So coming up at this part at the center of the skirt, we're also going to contour it. So I'm going to go ahead and measure 1/2 inch at that point, and I'll extend it back to the waistline. So if you're actually sewing a corset that has a lacing bar, this is a perfect way to draft out your skirt, so that bulginess at the back, like when you lace your dress at the back, the skirt won't be popping up. But if you're doing a normal bustier or corset dress that you're going to use a zipper at the back, go ahead and just leave your pattern straight. So now I'm going to go ahead to extend the lower part of this skirt. So to extend this part, so this space I have here, it's not a standard. So it depends on how wide or long you want your tail to be. But I'm just going to work with what I have at this point. So if you want it to be longer, you can add more inches, about 10 or more to this point. So what I have here is just roughly 7 inches. So you can use 10, 15, 20, depending on what you want, just like we have on the thumbnail. So when looking at what we have here, you notice that at the center they used more inches. So this is the pattern paper that I'm working with, and I'm just going to go ahead to extend the line. So whatever that you have at this point you want to add, even if it's 15, 20 inches, you're going to slant all the way from the center down to the lower part of your skirt this way. So after I'm done doing that, I'm just going to go ahead to use my marker and I'm going to draw it out. So if you have any question regarding this particular pattern, please don't hesitate to leave your question at the comment section. And if you haven't yet subscribed to my YouTube channel, please hit on the subscribe button, give this video a thumbs up. And we also have another YouTube channel where we actually do drafting and sewing tutorials, so you can go ahead and also follow me on my second or my main YouTube channel, which is Marky's Closet. So after this, I'm just going to go ahead to cut out my skirt, and remember that we actually contoured this point, and I'm going to go ahead to trace it out first, and I'll place back my skirt and I'm going to cut out. So after I'm done drafting out my pattern, this is what I have. This is the back pattern of my dress, and this is the front pattern of my skirt. So with this, we have come to the end of today's tutorial. Thanks.